I first noticed it because of how consistent it was. Every night, right around 3 a.m., I would wake up for no clear reason. No nightmare, no noise that jolted me awake, just that strange feeling that something wasn't right. At first, I thought it was just my sleep schedule. But then I started hearing the footsteps. They always began the same way. A soft creak from somewhere downstairs, followed by the slow, unmistakable sound of someone walking across the floor. Not pacing, not running, walking. I lived alone at the time, in a small one-story house. No roommates, no pets, and I always locked the doors before going to bed. The first night it happened, I told myself it was the house settling. Old wood expands and contracts, everyone knows that. But houses don't usually settle in patterns. The second night, I checked the time as soon as I heard it. 3:01 a.m. The footsteps moved from the living room toward the hallway, slow and deliberate, like whoever was walking knew exactly where they were going. I lay there in bed, holding my breath, listening as the sound stopped just outside my bedroom door. No knock, no handle turning, just silence. I didn't sleep the rest of that night. The next evening, I double-checked every lock. I even placed a chair against my bedroom door just in case. At 2:59 a.m., I was already awake, and when the clock flipped to 3, the footsteps started again. This time, they were closer. The second night changed everything for me. I had gone to bed early, hoping I'd sleep through the night and prove to myself that the first time had just been bad luck. But I woke up again before the sound even started, my eyes snapping open like my body already knew what time it was. The digital clock on my nightstand glowed 2:58 a.m. I lay there staring at it, my heart slowly picking up speed. The house was completely silent. No cars outside, no wind, no distant noises. It felt like the world had paused. When the clock changed to 3, I heard it. A soft creak from the living room, then another. The footsteps began the same way as before, slow, steady, and heavy enough to be unmistakable. They didn't rush or hesitate. Whoever was walking sounded calm, almost familiar with the layout of my house. I squeezed my eyes shut and listened. The footsteps crossed the living room, paused briefly, then continued down the hallway. I could hear each step clearly now, the sound of weight pressing down on the floorboards. They stopped right outside my bedroom door. I stared at the door, waiting for the handle to turn. It didn't. Instead, the footsteps moved again, slowly passing my door and continuing down the hallway toward the bathroom. I listened as they stopped, then turned around, and started walking back. That's when I realized something that made my stomach drop. There was no sound of a door opening or closing, just footsteps. Like whoever was walking didn't need to use doors at all. After a few minutes, the sound faded back toward the living room and then disappeared completely. I stayed awake until the sun came up, replaying every sound in my head. The next morning, I checked the house from top to bottom. Nothing was out of place. No muddy footprints, no unlocked doors, no signs anyone had been there. But when I walked past the hallway mirror, I noticed something odd. There were faint smudges on the glass at shoulder height, like someone had brushed past it in the dark. I wiped them away, telling myself I was overthinking everything. That night I tried to record the sound. I left my phone on the nightstand, voice recorder on, and lay there waiting. When I woke up, it was already morning. The recording had stopped at exactly 3:07 a.m. I listened to it. At first, there was nothing. Then came the footsteps, clear, slow, right outside my door. And underneath them, I heard breathing, not mine. The breathing on the recording didn't sound rushed. It wasn't panicked or shaky like mine usually is when I'm scared. It was slow and controlled, like whoever was making it wasn't afraid at all. I replayed that part 3 times before I finally shut my phone off. That night, I didn't bother trying to sleep. I sat upright in bed with the lights off, staring at the bedroom door, waiting for the clock to change. The house felt different now, not quiet but tense, like it was holding its breath with me. 2:59 a.m. My chest tightened. The clock flipped to 3, and right on cue, the footsteps started again. This time, they didn't begin in the living room. They started in the hallway, right outside my bedroom door. I heard the soft creak of the floorboard directly in front of the door, followed by a second step, closer than they'd ever been before. Whoever it was didn't pace or move away. They just stood there. Then came the sound that finally broke me, a hand brushing lightly against the door. Not knocking, not scratching, just fingers dragging gently across the wood, feeling for something. I grabbed my phone and dialed 911, whispering my address as quietly as I could. The operator told me to stay calm, to stay on the line, and not to open the door. While she was talking, the footsteps moved again. They walked away from my door, slowly, deliberately, heading back down the hallway. I listened as they stopped in the living room, and then turned around, and came back. Faster this time. The footsteps stopped right outside my door again. The handle didn't turn. Instead, something leaned against the door from the other side. The pressure was subtle, but I could see the door flex inward slightly. My breath caught in my throat as the operator kept talking, her voice suddenly sounding very far away. Then, right through the door, I heard it. My own voice. It whispered my name. Perfectly. The police arrived about 15 minutes later. By then, the footsteps were gone. I stayed on the line until I heard knocking. Real knocking. And the relief I felt when I opened the door and saw actual people standing there was overwhelming. They searched the house carefully, room by room, checking every door, every window, every closet. Nothing. No signs of forced entry, no open doors, no one hiding anywhere. They told me it was probably stress, or maybe my mind playing tricks on me in the middle of the night. One of them even joked about old houses making noises around that hour. But my house wasn't old. After they left, I didn't go back to sleep. I sat on the edge of my bed watching the door until morning. I moved out not long after that. The strange thing is, wherever I live now, I still wake up sometimes around 3 a.m. No footsteps, no sounds, just that same feeling, like something is waiting for me to notice it. A few months ago, I checked my phone's old recordings out of curiosity. The file from that night was still there. When I listened to it again, the footsteps were clear as ever, but the breathing was gone. In its place was something else, a faint whisper, repeating my name, over and over, right at 3 a.m. I got the call at 12:17 a.m. I remember the time clearly because I had just checked my phone before setting it face down on the nightstand. I wasn't expecting any calls. Everyone I knew was asleep, and I'd already told my family I was going to bed early. When my phone started ringing, the sound felt unnaturally loud in the quiet room. I reached over and flipped its screen up. Unknown number. I let it ring for a few seconds, hoping it would stop. It didn't. The vibration buzzed against the wood of the nightstand, steady and patient, like whoever was calling knew I was awake. Against my better judgment, I answered. Hello? There was no response at first, just silence. Not static, real silence, like the person on the other end was holding the phone away from their mouth. I was about to hang up when I heard breathing. Slow, even, controlled. This isn't funny, I said, already feeling uneasy. The breathing stopped. Then a voice spoke, low and calm. You shouldn't be awake right now. My stomach tightened. Who is this? The voice didn't answer right away. Instead, it said something that made my chest go cold. You locked the front door, but not the back one. I sat straight up in bed. There was no way anyone should have known that. I hadn't told anyone I was home alone that night. I hadn't posted anything online, and I was sure I'd locked everything before going to sleep. The line went quiet again. Before I could say anything else, the voice added softly, "Don't check yet." The call ended. I stared at my phone, my heart pounding, listening to the silence of my house. And for the first time that night, I was afraid of what I might hear next. I sat there for a long time after the call ended, staring at my phone like it might ring again on its own. The room was completely silent. No TV noise, no cars outside. Even the usual hum of the house felt muted, like everything had gone still at the same time. I told myself not to move. The voice had been calm, too calm, and the way it said, "Don't check yet," stuck with me. It didn't sound like a threat. It sounded like a warning. I checked the time again, 12:19 a.m. I listened carefully, straining to hear anything out of place. Footsteps, a door opening, even the smallest sound. There was nothing. That almost made it worse. After a few minutes, I grabbed my phone and texted my brother. Me. Are you awake? No response. I thought about calling the police, but I hesitated. What would I say? Someone called me and said my back door isn't locked? Didn't feel like enough. I slowly got out of bed and stood there, barefoot on the cold floor, listening again. My heart was pounding so hard I could feel it in my throat. That's when my phone buzzed. A text message from an unknown number. "You're still in your bedroom." My stomach dropped. I hadn't moved from that spot. I typed back without thinking. "Who are you?" The reply came instantly. "I told you not to check yet." My hands were shaking now. I locked my bedroom door and backed away from it, holding my phone like it was the only thing grounding me. Another message came through. "You always lock that door first." That wasn't true. At least, I didn't think it was. Then the phone rang again. Same unknown number. I answered without speaking. "You're making this harder," the voice said calmly. "I just need you to listen." "Listen to what?" I whispered. There was a pause. Then, very quietly, the voice said, "Your back door." At that exact moment, I heard it. A soft sound from somewhere downstairs. Not a bang, not footsteps, just the faint, unmistakable click of a door unlocking. The sound of the lock clicking downstairs felt unreal. It was soft, almost careful, but there was no mistaking it. I stood frozen in my bedroom, phone pressed to my ear, listening as the line stayed open. The voice on the other end didn't say anything right away. It just let the silence stretch, like it was waiting for me to react. My heart was pounding so hard it felt like it might give me away. "Did you hear that?" the voice finally asked. I didn't answer. Another sound followed, slow footsteps on the floor below me. Whoever was downstairs wasn't rushing. They weren't sneaking around clumsily either. Each step was deliberate, controlled, like they knew the house. My phone buzzed again with a message. "Don't move." I backed away from the bedroom door, my hands shaking so badly I almost dropped the phone. I locked myself into the corner near the window, staring at the door like it might open at any second. The footsteps stopped. Then came the sound of a door opening downstairs, the closet maybe, or the bathroom. I couldn't tell. The house felt too quiet, like it was amplifying every tiny noise. "You should have checked earlier," the voice said softly. "Now it's harder." "What do you want?" I whispered, tears forming in my eyes. The voice sighed, almost sympathetically. "I want you to stay calm," it said. "Panicking makes mistakes." The footsteps started again, slower now, moving toward the staircase. Each step creaked faintly as weight was placed on it. I could hear them climbing. One step, pause, another step. I covered my mouth to keep from crying out. My phone buzzed once more. Almost there. The voice on the line lowered. "You can still make this easy," it said. "Just unlock the door." The footsteps reached the top of the stairs. They stopped, right outside my bedroom. I stared at the handle as it slowly began to turn. And through the phone, the voice whispered, "See? I told you not to check yet." I don't remember the door opening. One moment I was staring at the handle as it slowly turned, and the next, I was sitting on my bedroom floor with my back against the wall, phone still pressed to my ear. The line was dead. No voice, no breathing, just silence. I stayed there for what felt like hours, not daring to move. Eventually, the sky outside my window began to lighten, and the fear loosened its grip just enough for me to stand up. I opened my bedroom door slowly. The hallway was empty. Downstairs, the back door was unlocked, wide open just enough to let the cold air in. Nothing inside the house was missing. No drawers disturbed, no signs of a struggle. The police came later that morning. They searched the house and the yard and found nothing. They suggested it might have been a prank call, or someone trying to scare me. I didn't argue. A few days later, I checked my call history. The call wasn't there. No incoming call, no missed call, no voicemail. Just one outgoing call, made at 12:17 a.m. Duration, 14 minutes. I don't remember calling anyone. I changed my number. I moved out not long after that. I stopped answering unknown calls completely. But sometimes, late at night, when my phone buzzes unexpectedly, I wait. Because part of me is afraid the voice will come back, calm, patient, and remind me that I didn't hang up. It let me go. I woke up because I thought I was falling. That sudden jolt, like your body snaps awake right before sleep fully takes over. My heart was already racing when my eyes opened, adjusting slowly to the darkness of my room. The first thing I noticed was that the room felt occupied. Not crowded, not loud, just not empty. My bedside clock glowed 2:41 a.m. in soft red numbers. The only sound was the low hum of the heater and my own breathing. Then I felt the mattress shift, not beside me, at the end of the bed. The pressure was subtle but unmistakable, like someone had carefully sat down without wanting to wake me. The blankets near my feet pulled tight, stretched slightly by weight that wasn't there before. I didn't move. I didn't even breathe properly. My eyes stayed fixed on the dark shape at the foot of the bed. Not a person I could see clearly, just a darker shape against the already dark room. It didn't move. It didn't make a sound. I told myself it was sleep paralysis. That explanation made sense, except I could move my hands and my legs, and I could feel the bed sinking under weight that shouldn't exist. The thing at the end of the bed leaned forward slightly. I could tell by the way the mattress dipped more. That's when I felt it. Warm air, breathing, pointed directly toward me. The warmth of that breath made my skin crawl. It wasn't cold like I expected it to be. It felt normal, human, and that somehow made it worse. I stared at the shape at the end of the bed, my eyes slowly adjusting to the darkness. I still couldn't make out details. No face, no clear outline, just a darker mass where nothing should have been. I flexed my fingers under the blanket. They moved. That ruled out sleep paralysis. My mind raced, desperately trying to explain what I was feeling. Maybe it was my blanket bunched up. Maybe my feet were pressing down harder than I realized. Maybe I was still half dreaming. But then the mattress dipped again. Whatever was there shifted its weight slightly, causing the springs to creak softly. The sound was quiet but unmistakable. I had slept on that bed for years. I knew its noises. This wasn't one of them. I swallowed hard and whispered, "Hello?" My voice sounded wrong in the dark. Too loud, too fragile. The thing didn't respond. The breathing continued, slow and steady, aimed directly toward my chest now. I could feel it against my skin, like someone leaning closer to study me. I pulled my knees up slightly, just enough to test if it would react. It did. The weight at the end of the bed increased, pressing down harder, anchoring itself in place. The blanket stretched tighter over my legs, trapping me. Panic crept in slowly, like cold water rising. I thought about turning on the light. The switch was just a few feet away. All I had to do was reach for it. But something about the way it sat there, calm, patient, made me feel like turning on the light would be a mistake. I tried to convince myself it would leave if I ignored it. Minutes passed. The breathing grew closer. Then I felt movement along the mattress. Slow, careful. The weight shifted from the foot of the bed toward my legs. The indentation crept forward, inch by inch, like someone crawling without lifting their body. Tears filled my eyes as I lay there, frozen, watching the dark shape stretch longer across the bed. When the pressure reached my knees, it stopped. The breathing was right above me now, close enough that I could smell it. Not rot, not decay, just something stale, old. That's when it whispered. Not words, just a soft exhale against my ear, like it was practicing. The moment it exhaled near my ear, something in me snapped. I didn't scream. I didn't think. I reacted. I kicked my legs forward as hard as I could and rolled sideways off the bed, hitting the floor with a thud that knocked the air out of my lungs. Pain shot through my shoulder, but adrenaline drowned it out. The bed reacted immediately. The mattress sprang upward violently, like all the weight had been lifted at once. I heard the sheets whip across the bed, followed by the sound of something shifting fast, too fast, across the fabric. I scrambled backward on my hands and feet, my eyes locked on the bed. The shape was still there, but it wasn't sitting anymore. It was standing, tall enough that it should have been visible in the darkness, but my eyes slid off it like my brain refused to finish the picture. I could sense where it was without seeing it clearly, a presence so close it felt like pressure against my chest. I reached for the lamp on my nightstand and knocked it over in my panic. It hit the floor and shattered, plunging the room back into near total darkness. That's when it moved. I heard the sound of bare feet on carpet, fast, light, circling the bed. The breathing was everywhere now, not just one place. Around me, above me. I screamed for my parents, my voice breaking as I fumbled toward the door. Something brushed past me. Not hard, not violent. Just enough to let me know it could have stopped me if it wanted to. I threw the door open and ran into the hallway, the light snapping on as my parents burst out of their room. I was sobbing, pointing back toward my bedroom, trying to explain between gasps. There was someone on my bed. My dad rushed past me and flipped on my bedroom light. The room was empty. The bed was perfectly smooth, the blankets undisturbed. No dent, no sign anything had been there. But my sheets were ice cold at the foot of the bed, like someone had just stood there for a long time, watching. I didn't sleep in my room again for weeks. My parents chalked it up to a nightmare. They said stress, imagination, maybe a bad dream layered on top of sleep paralysis. They replaced the broken lamp, checked under the bed, and kept the hallway light on every night. Eventually, things went back to normal, at least on the surface. Years later, when I was an adult and living on my own, the memory came back stronger than ever. Not as fear, but as certainty. The older I got, the more I understood that what happened didn't fit the explanations they gave me. Sleep paralysis doesn't let you move. Dreams don't leave cold spots behind. A few months ago, I visited my parents' house for the first time in years. My old room was mostly empty now, but the bed was still there, pushed against the same wall. That night, I slept in it. I woke up around 2:40 a.m. with the same feeling I remembered from childhood, that sudden awareness that I wasn't alone. The bed didn't move. Nothing sat down, but I felt it anyway. That pressure at the foot of the mattress, that quiet certainty of being watched. I didn't open my eyes this time. I didn't move, because I realized something that still makes my stomach turn. Whatever sat at the end of my bed that night when I was a kid never stayed in that room. It learned where I sleep.